as you guys probably already know, if you've watched some of my deck profiles, I have a love-hate relationship with Sangan. I have played it in 2 topping deck lists. I played it in the UDS Indianapolis top 4 deck list. I played it in my second place Detroit regional deck list, and yeah, it sucked. It's like the worst card in both of those decks by far, but obviously, I mean, I keep putting in the deck and then taking out of the deck, and ever since Multifaker 1, 2, 3 copies per deck, I mean, there's no argument, right? You shouldn't play Sangan and Altergeist. Well, maybe not, but I wanted to talk to you guys today and kind of show you a couple different builds of Altergeist as well as this new combo. And I say new because I haven't shown it on my channel, but it's not really like new because it's been in the OSG for a while. But Sangan might be more playable in Altergeist right now than it ever has been in the past, just because of this one combo. But this combo isn't perfect, and I want to tell you guys about that as well. But anyway, here's the combo. So all you need is 1 tour guide from the Underworld, and if it goes through, if your opponent has no hand traps, which we'll talk about in a second, but here's what happens. So you normal summon the tour guide, uses effect, and you get that beautiful Sangan right from your deck. I mean, who doesn't love this card? And then you use both of these cards for good old Predaplant, Verde, Anaconda. And then don't forget the Sangan search, because I've done that and it's really rough. So you get the Sangan search and you add Multifaker to your hand, just like you always were. And then you activate the Anaconda effect here. You pay your 2,000 life points to send, and I'll talk about, there's a lot of Garnets in this combo, but not really Garnets, more like Takatomborgs. But you send the Red Eyes Fusion, and then that resolves, and you send the Red Eyes Black Dragon and the Dark Magician to the graveyard to special summon your Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, aka the card that literally everyone is playing in every deck right now. So with your 1 tour guide, I mean, ignore everything else, with your 1 tour guide, you got a +2, which is cool, but more importantly, you ended on one of the best cards in the format right now, and Altergeist Multifaker. So you would have 4 other cards in your hand if you didn't have Extravagance. If you had Extravagance, you'd have even more cards than that. But yeah, I think that combo is very powerful when it resolves. Couple issues here. So one of the issues here is that you're playing a lot of, I wouldn't call them Garnets, I'd call them Takatomborgs. So you're playing 4 cards you don't really want to draw. You're playing the Sangan, the Red Eyes Fusion, the Red Eyes Black Dragon, and the Dark Magician. You don't really want to see any of these cards. Honestly, all of them are fine to draw, and that it doesn't ruin the combo. Red Eyes Fusion is the worst to draw by far, because then you can't summon the Anaconda because you can't use its effect. I suppose you could play more copies of it, but then you have more Takatomborgs in your deck. But Sangan can be special summoned from your hand with the tour guide, so that's fine to draw. And the 2 vanilla monsters can be used from your hand for fusion material with Red Eyes Fusion. So the only like true Garnet is the Red Eyes Fusion. In that case, though, like you would just activate the Red Eyes Fusion, because you can just play the card and then send these cards to wherever. So if you draw the Red Eyes Fusion with a tour guide, that's pretty bad, but it's not unusable, it's not unplayable. You can at least just activate the fusion and then get its effect that way. Not as good, but still usable. The problem with this deck, I mean, we can take a look here. The problem with this deck is that everyone is playing this combo, or this type of combo, a similar combo with Anaconda. They're probably not playing the tour guide specifically, but every single person right now that I've played against, for the most part, is playing Anaconda into Dragoon. I mean, that's like everywhere online right now. Everyone's doing this combo with these 2 cards. So the problem then is that everyone is main decking or side decking cards that are good against this combo. Hand traps, Veiler, Impermanence, Gamma, stuff like that. Or they're main decking tactical talents to out the Dragoon when it is actually on the field. So it creates this problem where, historically speaking, Altergeists have been pretty resilient against hand traps. Cards like Veiler, Impermanence, Gamma don't really matter against Altergeists too much in most situations. Ash is always hurt. I mean, on your like Desires back in the day and Duality back in the day, but nowadays your Extravagance or your Molaseek. So Ash is probably like the biggest hand trap that really does like hurt this deck significantly and always has. But other than that, the other hand traps haven't been that big of a deal. When you put this combo in your deck, though, now every hand trap beats you. I mean, Permanence, Veiler, Ash, Ogre, even if people are playing that. But pretty much every single hand trap in the game stops stops this combo, or if they don't stop that combo, they have ways to out the Dragoon because everyone is playing Dragoon, so everyone's playing counters to the Dragoon. So it creates a situation where your deck is more powerful by far. It's like one of the best openings in theory, like in a vacuum, just looking at this opening. Having a tour guide with like 4 trap cards is extremely powerful because you have the multi-faker on your opponent's turn, you already have the Dark Dragoon, very good there, and yes, that's a very, very powerful. I mean, I guess 4 traps isn't super ideal because you need 1 card in hand to discard off the Dragoon, but it's whatever. You get what I'm saying. It's a very strong opening for a deck that conventionally does not have that many strong openings. Altergeists usually start their combos on like the second turn, like their second turn, when they can actually like start summoning Hexias and stuff like that, but on turn 1, usually you're just summoning Marionetter and passing, or summoning Molaseek and searching Faker and passing. So this is significantly stronger than any other Altergeist combo that I've been able to play in a deck, and it's pretty consistent because these cards are Takatomborgs and not Garnets, which is a pretty big difference there because it means if you draw them, the combo's worse because it's taking cards out of your hand instead of just using cards in your deck, but it's not unusable, which is a pretty big deal. So when we jump over to the deck list here, and I'm going to go through a couple deck lists. I don't usually like doing dueling book deck lists. I think that they're not really that educational because people just get the list all at one time. It's a lot of information to take in, but in this case, I just wanted to run through here, and these are all works in progress. I'm not saying this list is like perfect because it's not. Like I said, it's been a while since I played Altergeist, but I have been playing them the past couple of days online. It's been going pretty well, but the main problem with this list is that you do lose things by including this engine, because this engine's pretty big. So you have 1, 2, 3 cards. Obviously, these 3 cards are very important. You have the other cards, so that's 4, 5, and then 6 cards in your main deck, all for this one combo. And just looking at the ratio, I mean, you could play more Red Eyes Fusion if you really want to, but that like increases your chance of drawing it, which isn't super great. But it is kind of funny, right? Because you're playing like 4 Takatomborgs and 2 Speedroid Terratops, which really isn't like a ratio that you would ever want to play. Most people played like 3 Brilliant Fusion and 1 Garnet, maybe 2 Garnets. This is like the opposite ratio, so it's pretty bad, but it's not like the worst because they're not that bad to draw. And you could play cards like Phantasme maybe to fix your hand or whatever. Phantasme is pretty good right now. Maybe I should try that out. And there's also the driver in here. It says 1 more Garnet. But one of the things you lose, I mean, if you look at the side deck here, you don't have a lot of space for hand traps if you do this. You have the Gammas and you have the Impermanences, no Ashes, no Veilers, nothing like that. And that is a problem because everyone else is playing a Dragoon combo deck, or they're playing Dragoon in their decks. And when you look at this list, if you don't hard draw the Gamma or Impermanence going second, or if you don't have the opportunity to save those cards for the Anaconda, because keep in mind here, people aren't just playing Dragoon Turbo necessarily, they're playing other cards, which means that you can't always save the Gamma or Impermanence for the Anaconda because sometimes they're doing Helki Firebacks combos before they get to that part of their combo. But this means if you don't have these cards or you can't save them for the Anaconda, there are pretty much no outs in the deck to your opponent's Dark Dragoon. And that's a big problem because everyone's playing the card. So one of the ways you can theoretically out it if your opponent has like no other cards is that if you set a bunch of cards and wait a turn, on your turn, you can just try to do a Hexia combo, because Hexia could theoretically attack over the Dragoon. Now the way to push that through would be to have a card like Strike or Protocol to negate the Dragoon negation. No, those cards will not then destroy the Dragoon because it can't be destroyed, but it will negate its effect, which will stop the attack gaining ability of this card. So it won't go up to 4,000 attack, which will be good because then when the card's at 3,000 attack, you can run it over with Hexia where it points to a Marionetter. Still though, not super viable, especially considering people are usually weaving in the Dragoon into their other combos, so they have other cards, so you really can't just like afford to set a bunch of cards and pass without doing anything. So this deck is really good going first, not so good going second, but it is a cool way to show you guys something that I've talked about in the past, where power isn't everything. Sometimes when you gain more powerful opening fields, when you gain more powerful combos, you lose something else along the way. In this case, you're losing the ability to play around a lot of hand traps that otherwise wouldn't be a big issue. And in a format where people are main decking 12 hand traps, sometimes even more than that, it's pretty good to be playing a deck that doesn't care about those hand traps as much. So we played this on stream for a little bit. We played a lot of matches. It went pretty well. We mostly won, but I felt like it wasn't good good enough. And I felt that I know Sangan, it's there. I want to play it again. I mean, I don't really want to play it again, but in theory, you know, it'd be fun to play Sangan again in a deck that it's actually good in, and this combo is very good. And it's also cool because if you hard draw the Sangan without the tour guide, you can still just do the old combo of just normal summoning Sangan, well, old combo. You can still just summon the Sangan and then make Almirage and search Faker. That still works just fine, so that's pretty cool. But after playing this deck a little bit, I found that it struggled against Dragoon going second. I found it struggled against hand traps going first. So I made a new list. I think this one might be a little bit better for the current meta. So this list is pretty simple. It's very similar, except we cut the 6 cards for that combo and put in all really powerful going second cards. So we have 2 copies of Effect Veiler, 3 copies of Triple Tactics Talent, and 1 copy of 1-for-1. 1-for-1 is really good going first or second. Going first, it helps you combo, and 1-for-1 is honestly one of the most broken cards you can draw going first in Altergeist. It truly is like game breaking for this deck because, like I said, Altergeists are not really supposed to be able to combo on turn 1, but 1-for-1 actually does let you combo in a lot of hands. But it's also good going second because it gives you an extender. It gives you a way to help break boards by summoning Molaseek from your deck in addition to your regular normal summon, which is pretty cool. The Triple Tactics Talent is particularly good against Dragoon going second. They negate your card, and then you just tactics to take the Dragoon, and usually you're able to OTK them because you can pop some cards on your opponent's side field. It's a very powerful card against Dragoon, as you guys probably already know. But also it's good going first when your opponent does have an Ash Blossom on your Extravagance, then you can just use this card to continue on your plays. You can even rip a card out of your opponent's hand if you want to, which is pretty strong as well. If your opponent like Veilers the Marionetta for some reason, you could also Triple Tactics Talent to just get like huge advantage off of that. Now you know your opponent's hand and you can negate whatever you need to negate. You know if they have extenders, you know if they don't have a lot of starters, you can know exactly what you're supposed to stop, which is really good in this type of deck. And then the 2 Veiler, I think this card is very good right now, especially because so many people are playing Anaconda. Besides that though, it's just good in general. I mean, you can hit the Helki Firebacks, you can hit the any really combo starter like Isolde is good to hit with Veiler as well. But just in general, I think Veiler is very strong. There's a lot of good Link 2 monsters that you want to stop, and if this card isn't that good, maybe in a tournament setting, I suppose you could cut it. I'm not really sure what people in a tournament setting, like the online tournaments that are happening, are actually playing right now. I'm not sure if everyone is actually playing Dragoon, so there's so many decks online, but at least for online ranked ladder in Dueling Book or EDO Pro, whatever, it seems like a lot of people are playing Dragoon combo decks right now, especially because the card has only been out for like a week, so people are very excited to try it out. So Veiler, I think right now is a really good meta call. Over the next couple of weeks, over the next couple of months, I'm not sure if that'll always be the case, but right now at least, it's a pretty strong call in my opinion. And I'm not going to spend that much time talking about this list because I did an entire deck profile on it, but one of the other options, if you don't like either of those lists, is that you could play the Dogmatica Altergeist deck that I profiled a little while ago. I think this deck is still very, very good. I think Punishment in particular is pretty strong right now, and yeah, I like this deck a lot. I think one of the problems with this one is that it plays almost no hand traps in the main deck. It only has those 3 impermanents. I think it might even be worth cutting like 1 Ecclesia, 1 Punishment, and playing 2 Veiler in the main deck. That might be pretty strong. Can you play Sangan right now? The answer is yes, and I've tried it and it went pretty well. Even though it's the most powerful way to play Altergeist by far, I'm not sure if it's the most optimal way to play it because yeah, when you summon that tour guide and you have other Altergeist cards in your hand and your opponent hits it with a Veiler or Impermanence or Ash or Gamma, you kind of wonder why you didn't just summon the Molaseek and not get hit by like half those cards, because the Molaseek really only loses to Gamma and Ash. The tour guide loses to Gamma, Ash, Impermanence, Veiler, Ogre, everything. It just gets stopped by like every hand trap in the entire game right now, which is obviously not a good thing. I hope you guys enjoyed today's discussion video. I know I don't usually do Dueling Book deck profiles. That's not really what this was about. It's more just talking about playing the Dragoon combo in Altergeist and my experience with it, and sort of talking about power versus consistency versus versatility versus being able to make the right metagame call. And sometimes power isn't everything. Having consistency, having less Garnets, having less Takatomborgs might be more valuable in a format like this one, but that's up for you guys to decide. I'll see you guys later though. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.